Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about the Crown XLS series of amplifiers. This isn't really a review so much as just me wanting to add to the conversation of using these amplifiers and hopefully give some information to people that are looking at these amplifiers to use in their hi-fi setup. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at these. I've seen a lot of videos on these amplifiers of people using them in their hi-fi setup. I've owned one of these amplifiers myself for a while, and honestly, they sound fine. They're, I guess you'd call it transparent for the most part in most of their frequency range, but I didn't really see anything to write home about with them, so I never bothered to do a video for them. But there are some things with the amplifier that I want to talk about. And I'll leave links to all this stuff below, but they're really the measurements of the amplifier itself. A quick word on measurements in this channel. I probably won't be doing a whole lot of measurements because I find doing them and talking about them boring. But I definitely take them into consideration when they objectively show a design factor of the product that is going to have an impact on how the product operates, such as the case with this amplifier. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's definitely going to have an impact on its use case. If you're not familiar with audiosciencereview.com, it's basically a discussion forum where the website owner has some really good measurement gear, gets a lot of different gear in for review, and does objective measurements on them. There's tons of information on there, but it's a very good. He's really building a really good warehouse of measurement data to compare different speakers, amplifiers, a lot of DACs. And so if you're interested in all that stuff with measurements and whatnot, and you haven't checked out audiosciencereview.com, I really suggest you take a look at it. It's really becoming quite a resource. So big shout out to Audio Science Review. And there's two things I want to talk about. And to explain this, I'm going to start off talking about two other amplifiers you may be shopping around for: the Schiit Vidar and the XTZ A2 300. Okay, we're going to start with the audiosciencereview.com review of the Schiit Vidar amplifier. And I'm not even really going to get into power. All of these amplifiers we're going to talk about here today put out decent power. The Schiit Vidar obviously is more expensive than the Crown amp. But with that higher price tag, you get a signal to noise ratio of 81 dB as opposed to the Crown at 76. Okay, and that's not even really what I wanted to talk about. I want to start with frequency response. So for the Schiit Vidar, you can see that it's very linear, very flat. It goes beyond 20 hertz on the low end, and well beyond 20 kilohertz, I'm sorry, on the high end. In fact, it doesn't even start to become 3 dB down until well past 100 kilohertz on the top end. All right. So what that means is this amplifier is not going to limit the bandwidth of any signal you put through it. It's just going to do its job. It's not going to cut off your lows, your highs at all. It's just going to amplify whatever signal you send to it. Let's look at the ICE-powered amp, similar to what's used in the XTZ amplifier. Same thing, similar story here, right? Pretty linear. It pops down. I mean, I don't know, you can't really measure that down by 20 hertz. It's flat throughout. It's not 3 dB down until almost 100 kilohertz there, okay? So this is also not going to limit your bandwidth at all. Now we go to the Crown amplifier. And here I can talk about both issues I have with this amplifier on one screenshot here. Okay, the first is that this amplifier has an analog to digital converter in it that's going to resample everything that you send to it to 48 kilohertz. So it doesn't matter what resolution signal you send to this amplifier, its analog to digital converter is going to resample it to 48 kilohertz, and that's what's going to come out of this amplifier. Another thing, as we look at the frequency response, we can see that by the time we get to 20 hertz, it's already starting to roll off, okay, on the low end. And then on the high end, we get past 10,000 hertz, 10 kilohertz, and it's starting to roll off too. In fact, there's a brick wall at 24 kilohertz. So not only is this amplifier resampling your signal to 48 kilohertz, but it's also limiting your bandwidth. All right. And I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, that's, those are both beyond the scope of human hearing. And that's fine. But the thing is, this is not what you want to see in your amplifier. You want your amplifier to just amplify the signal. That's it. That's its job. You got one job, amplifier. Do your job, right? You don't want it limiting your bandwidth in any way, shape, or form. And you certainly don't want it resampling your signal. So for those two reasons, me personally, it would not be my top recommendation, even in this price point, for an amplifier. I think recently Andrew Robinson has also done a review for the XTZ Edge amplifier and has changed his budget recommendation to this amplifier. And I totally agree with it. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but I think it's obviously worth it. It's a much better amplifier for hi-fi use, right? Another option would possibly be, I have never owned the XTZ amplifier, but I have no doubt that it would be better than the Crown. I have owned the Schiit Vidar, and I do prefer it over the Crown, but I know that's much higher in price. If we get closer to the price, for that price, what I would recommend, and another amplifier I've owned, is the Emotiva BassX A300. $400. It has good power, good specs. It's not going to resample your signal. It's not going to limit your bandwidth in any way. So I'm not making this video to poo-poo the Crown amplifier or criticize anyone for using it in their hi-fi system. If you're using it in your hi-fi system and you love the way it sounds, then that's great. I just wanted to put these measurements out there and these limitations of the amplifier out there so that you can make a better decision on your amplifier purchase. I'm not making this video because I dislike this amplifier either. In fact, I like this amplifier a lot. I think it's an excellent amplifier for its intended application, which is for professional audio reinforcement for the most part, right? PA systems. This is also an excellent choice for a lot of your higher performance home theaters that are using big DIY speakers and are crossing over to subwoofers. In both those applications, as far as the bandwidth limitations, you're going to be crossing over to subwoofers way before you get to that low end limitation. And most of these setups are using compression drivers. A lot of those compression drivers don't go much past 15, 16 kilohertz anyway. So you're not really limited on the high end either. And as for the resampling at 48 kilohertz, if you're using room correction like Odyssey, most of them are resampling your signal to 48 kilohertz anyway. So for those applications, it's still an excellent choice. It's still a very high quality amplifier. It will sound great in those applications. 2-channel hi-fi, not my first choice. But again, if you're using this amplifier and you like it, by all means, don't let me stop you from using it. All right. This video doesn't change what you think about it. So continue enjoying your amplifier. If you are someone that has been shopping for this amplifier, let me know what you think about this video in the comments. If you're someone that owns this amplifier and you love this amplifier, tell me what you think in the comments. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe. And other than that, I think I'm all done here, guys. Thanks for coming back, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.